Hello, hello. It's Mary Schiller here with you today with my froggy voice again. So I apologize in advance that you have to listen to me talk with this kind of nasal thing going on. The good news is that even though I am still sick, I am feeling better. So sometimes that happens where I start to feel better and my voice, etc., hasn't quite caught up to the rest of me. So I'm hoping that my voice will last long enough to have a nice conversation here with you guys today. I can always tell when it's the top of the hour here in Paris because there is a church nearby that has beautiful church bells. Hi, Katie. And it's always comforting to me for some reason to hear the church bells ringing at the top of the hour. So again, I want to welcome you if you are watching live, and if you're watching the replay, thank you for joining. And again, apologies for the raspy, cold-induced voice today. So once again, I am Mary Schiller of maryschiller.com. I am an author and coach, most recently the author of Let's Make Money, Honey. And hi, Mimi. Hi, Verdi. And hey, Doug, thanks for being here. And also the creator of the program called Let's Make Money, Honey. And just as a quick reminder, I'm opening registration again for that program in just a few days on November 15th. So stay tuned for some info and some special offers for everybody who is enrolled in the challenge. So that's really exciting. Hey, Lynn. Hi, Susanna. I'm glad you can hear me despite the frog in my throat. I've been drinking lots of tea with honey today, hoping that that would help, and I actually think it did because this morning I could barely squeak out anything. So warm ginger tea. Yeah, actually, my husband went to the store and I meant to ask him to look for ginger there. I don't know if they have it at the store here because today is Sunday, and I don't know if you're familiar with the way Paris and other parts of France are on Sundays, but most of the stores are closed. So we just have sort of a small market that's open on Sundays, and they don't carry a whole lot of things, but maybe they do carry ginger, I don't know. So I wanted to start today's Facebook Live with just a quick recap of both the challenge and a few of the things that we have been talking about so far, in case you haven't watched the other two videos, or if you just want to, hi Tracy, thank you for coming, or if you just want to make a few more comments after watching the replay or giving them a little thought, I will give you some time to do that in just a second. So far we've been talking about the fact that money, first of all, is not something that sort of is out there somewhere. On yesterday's talk, I was talking about the fact that, and I find this incredibly liberating, is the fact that money, that we are the source of money. That, hey, Ellie, good to see you. That we don't have to go sort of hunt down money and track it and trap it and, you know, seize it and all those things. That actually, we are the source of money. And somebody just posted a comment that, I think it's Verena, that she was having trouble kind of seeing this because she gets a paycheck. She has an employer and she gets a paycheck. So in those cases, it can really look to us like money is coming from out there. But it isn't. We are still the source of that money. We're still creating the value that somebody is exchanging money for. So it doesn't matter whether you're getting a paycheck for something or you're creating your own business and getting money that way, or you're selling items that you own. Hey, Janice, nice to see you. You know, we are still the origin, the source of money. And for me, that has been hugely liberating because it used to seem so hard for me to grasp this whole money thing because it seemed like it was something outside of myself. It seemed like something I didn't understand and I didn't get, and I felt like I was constantly chasing after it. Do you ever have that sensation that you're sort of chasing after money? Because that's how it felt to me. And now that I've actually seen the truth about it, I don't have that sensation at all anymore about chasing after money. It seems just very natural that it is here and available to me. and I simply have to create something of value to someone else and they pay me, and that's kind of it. The other thing that we talked about on day one was a little bit about this notion that our thoughts can't stop us in any way. And we waste a lot of time, at least I did. I wasted a lot of time being concerned with my quote unquote money mindset. I'm sure you guys have all heard that, that we have to work on our limiting beliefs about money, and we have to, clear away all these money blocks, and we have to figure out, our money history, and we have to fix our relationship with money and all these things. And to me, that just all looks like a big fat waste of time because we can't do anything about our thoughts. We can't choose them. We can't control them. We can't do anything about them. So kind of trying to muck about in something that I have no control over seems like a waste of time, when I could actually be looking at, well, gee, I'm a creative, innately creative, and infinite being here. What can I do to create something of value for someone else? Hey, Ingrid, that's because it is easy. Ingrid, honestly, that's what you're kind of giving a sneak preview and to tomorrow's talk, where I'm going to talk about the fact that this actually is easy. So I'm glad you're starting to see that. That's really exciting. So that's kind of where we've been so far. And on this talk, I really would like to focus on a couple of things that I talk about extensively in the book, but I thought it might be fun for us to have a conversation about, which is two phrases, two notions that are so common in Western culture that we don't even stop to consider whether they're actually true. And anybody who's read or listened to the audiobook probably knows which two phrases I'm about to say. So one of them is, anybody know? Financial, starts with an F. Something you see everywhere these days. Everybody's talking about financial freedom. Everybody's talking about financial freedom. What you can do in your life when you have financial freedom. Yes, exactly, Kathy. Freedom and financial security. Financial freedom and financial security. Yes, excellent. You guys are here on it. You win. Oh, that's so fun. So yeah, and I have to admit that, and I think I say this in the book, that every time somebody promised me financial freedom, if I just followed their blueprint or whatever it was, I just fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Because I thought, well, who wouldn't want financial freedom, right? Who wouldn't want that? That just sounds like something everybody would want to have. And what I have seen since then, thank goodness, this has been, of all the things I think I've spoken about so far, these two notions and dispelling them have had the biggest impact on my quality of life in terms of a positive impact, as well as my ability to have more money, to be honest with you. When I realized that freedom and security had absolutely nothing to do with finances, it was like, wow, so you mean I can act without worrying about chasing after this elusive thing called financial freedom, or this other thing called financial security? And a little bit ago, when I was kind of trying to put myself together here for this call and doing my hair and stuff, I was realizing, how many people spend their entire lives in a job, let's say, that they don't really like, because they feel it brings them, quote unquote, financial security or financial freedom. I know so many people like that. Do you guys know people like that? And I was one of those people. I stayed in a job for way, way, way too long because I felt like I needed it for a sense of security, for a sense of freedom. And looking back on that, that just seems so weird to me now. I can't even relate to it. But at the time, Lori, Lori, I know we've had that conversation many times, where we just have this sense that we need this job, or we need X amount of money in order to have a feeling of security or a feeling of freedom. And what I started to see, you're one of those two people too, Mimi, you're not alone. I mean, how many millions of people around the world are sitting at a desk every day doing something that's okay, you know, maybe they sort of like it sometimes and not so much other times, but they stay because it looks like it's bringing them a feeling of security. And the reason why I'm so incredibly passionate about this particular topic and also the financial freedom piece is because I really want people to be doing things that are more an expression of who they really are and what they want to bring into the world. I've had this kind of crazy dream for about a year now that keeps coming back to me, like, what if every single person on the planet was doing the thing that they really wanted to be doing, even if that changes over time, because I've done a lot of different things in my life career-wise. But if we were free within ourselves, if we felt this freedom that is innately ours to pursue what we wanted to pursue, what would the world look like? You know, when I encounter someone who is not particularly happy in their job, like I did the other day when I went to this government office here, and the woman at the front desk looked like she had eaten a lemon for lunch, you know, and was just really not very helpful. Wouldn't it be an amazing place, Mimi? I looked at her and I thought, you know, I'm sure there are other areas in her life where she is just completely lit up and happy, but this isn't one of those places for her, and yet she feels she has to be there because she feels it's probably bringing her some sense of financial security. It's a nice government job. I can just see how this plays out in people's minds. And so if I can do even one little thing in this lifetime, it would be to help you to see that freedom and security have nothing to do with money, certainly, that they are innate, that they are our natural state as human beings, and that there is absolutely nothing that can either increase them or decrease them. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. Whoever gave that to me, that's cool. That we came into this world with all the security and freedom we could ever possibly hope for. And we will go out of this life with the same amount. There is nothing that can change that, ever. Nothing. No matter what happens to us, no matter if we have $1 million or less than, you know, $1 million in debt, makes no difference. It doesn't matter if we are in a jail cell or not, or if we just think we are, you know, if we look like to ourselves that we're in sort of a prison of our own thinking. None of that even matters, because there is nothing ever that can change security and freedom. Those are gifts we have been given just by virtue of being human. You know, the way you can sort of test this is, you know, and I make sort of a light of this in the book, but, you know, I started looking, when I first kind of started to see this, I started looking at money and going, okay, now is money somehow like transmitting this feeling to me? You know, are there little like waves coming from it at me and filling me with this sense of freedom and security? I mean, is that how this works? And I started realizing how absolutely ridiculous that was. I also started looking at people who I knew personally who had a ton of money, and yet they were incredibly insecure. Anybody else know someone like that? Who has what looks like all of the financial security and quote-unquote financial freedom that you could ever want, and yet they have an incredible sense of insecurity. I started looking at people, right? I started looking at famous people who, unfortunately, you know, sometimes really harm themselves because even though they've got, millions and millions of dollars in the bank, they don't see that they have this innate security. They keep searching for it in other places. And so it started to look really, really obvious to me in terms of money that there was absolutely no connection between these two things. I mean, if I'm looking at money, this 20 € bill, as the source of my feeling of security or the source of my feeling of freedom, I might as well be looking at this compact or this pack of tissues. That's about as much sense as that actually makes to me now. They seem to be completely and totally separate from one another. So what does this do then? If you can catch even a tiny, tiny glimpse of this, well, what it does, and this is the really exciting bit, it's like all of the time, now really think about this, all of the time that people spend searching and doing things for a feeling of financial freedom or a feeling of financial security, they can stop doing. They can just stop all of that because that isn't how it works. They already have security and freedom. So all of the energy that we're expending trying to get those feelings from something out here or from this or from 2 of these or 3 of these or however many we think we need, we can just stop all of it. And we can, once again, like we were talking about yesterday, see that we are the source of all of it. So we can begin to look to ourselves and say, all right, what do I really want to be doing with my time? Well, how do I really want to be spending this precious time that I have been given? And I'm going to use Lori Levine, if you don't mind, Lori, I'm going to use you as an example because I have seen such an incredible change in your life and what you're doing with your time. You're spending more and more of your time doing art and teaching art to other people. And I know that that was something that you really wanted to be doing. And I think because you have started, correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, but I think that once you started to see this for yourself, to see that you're actually free to pursue these things, you have permission to listen to what's calling to you, and to put this beautiful artwork into the world and to use your incredible teaching skills in a different way from what you've been doing with them, that things have started to really change for you. You're not only, it seems like from the outside, like you're producing a lot more art and you're making it more accessible. You're not just painting paintings, but you're making cards. And now you're setting up these different types of art classes and different formats for them and inviting people to do. I just love the idea of these 2 people workshops you're doing, like a mother-daughter painting workshop. I mean, how cool is that? And I just see you, coming out of yourself and into yourself at the same time. And really, that is my sole motivation in life, honestly, is to help people realize that they are free to pursue what they want to pursue. And that simply by doing that and realizing that they can create something of value that someone else will pay for, it's really that simple. Yes, but there are times I really get stuck in thought and feel very miserable. Lori, I don't know if you saw the other videos, but that happens to everybody. We all have periods of time where we're lost in thought and the world looks dire and life looks difficult. But the fact is that that is momentary, that the truth with a capital T is what we're talking about right now. That things like creativity never goes anywhere. No matter how it looks to us, no matter what our thoughts are saying to us, that creative well is as infinite as it's always been. It never changes. Same with freedom and security. They have nothing to do with whatever thoughts might be floating in front of our heads at any given time and sort of distracting us. It doesn't have any effect on what we actually have available to us. And so that's what I find so freeing about what we're discussing. It's nice to hear this, though, because sometimes it's hard to see. Well, that's one reason I'm using you as an example, Lori, because I do feel like it's often hard for us to see this for ourselves. And sometimes, even if it's just, the tiniest little fragment of a glimpse of something, that's often all it takes, if that, to kind of start this creative engine going. One of the reasons why in this challenge I asked you guys to pick a number and something you'd like to purchase with that amount of money is because I have found that setting sort of a fun goal, and I'm using goal very loosely. I don't really like the way goals are used in popular culture. I think they're kind of heavy, and they seem to sort of demand, a plan. Like I saw a woman the other day, very nice, and I'm sure maybe this is helpful to some people, but she was trying to help you plan out your entire 2018 in your business and what you were going to do by when, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, how could I ever know what I'm supposed to be doing in June of 2018? There's just no way I could know that. So I see goals more like fun. Like I was saying, what if I could by June of 2018 be selling 2,000 books a month or something like that. That's how I'm using the word goal here. It's more like setting something in motion within me and kind of igniting that creative spark, and then being open to what shows up. When we are not chasing after feelings like, yeah, time to play, Verdi, when we're not chasing after feelings like quote unquote financial security or quote unquote financial freedom that don't exist, you'd be amazed at how much creative space gets freed up for us to play. For me to say that, now I can't get teared up or I won't have any voice left. So I'm going to try not to, but for me to be saying to you that life looks like playtime is kind of miraculous, because that is not how I saw my life for my entire life. I saw it as heavy and burdensome. I saw it as a continual hunt for all of these feelings that seemed so elusive to me, this lightness and this fun, and certainly around money that was true. And I'm telling you that there is nothing at all that we need to do in order to have any of these beautiful feelings. Thanks, you guys. They are innate. They are what we're made of. They are simply what we are. And so when we can even touch that the tiniest bit, it means that we're free to just pursue whatever it is that we want to pursue, whether that's a creative thing or a money-making thing or whatever. Mimi, thank you so much, Mimi. I appreciate that. I can feel that. Thank you. So I'm going to just pause right there and ask you guys a question. So how many of you, I'd really love to hear, see this whole idea of financial freedom and financial security as real? Because if you do, of course, that's totally fine, because this isn't something easy to see through. It's really something that we are taught almost from a very young age, that this is the way things are, that we have to work for so many years in order to have enough financial security to retire, and then maybe we can live the life we want to live. I'm not really sure I understand any of that anymore. So if you're feeling like you're not really seeing through this, that's totally okay. Katie, it depends on my mood. Yeah, it always depends on the thoughts we're looking at any given time, right? Mimi, I feel that I need my job to be able to pay my bills. And here's the thing, I appreciate that, Mimi. Excuse me one second. And this is what I was trying to say, I think it was to Verena in the post, is that when we have a job, let's say, that we are using to pay our bills, it is still really, really helpful to realize that the job is not the thing generating the money, that you are doing that. Whether you are in a job getting a paycheck, or you are, creating your own business and making money that way, or you're doing anything that is generating money, it's still you that's the source of it. There's no out there in terms of money. It's all in here. So all those years when I was in a job I didn't like, and I felt like the job was the source of my money and the source of my security, I was just looking at something wrong. I was just simply seeing something that wasn't true. And I started to kind of see through the veneer of that, and I realized, oh, wait a second. I'm the one generating this money. It's not the university that's, giving it to me. I'm doing that. And the sense of security that I feel is me. That's not the job. And so it doesn't matter whether you're in a job or doing your own thing or what. You're still the source. You're still the creative piece of the whole money puzzle. Thanks for showing. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that's helpful to see, Katie, because to me, it's the piece of I would say the most important piece is for me. Now, this is just me, in really having a very, I can't even say turned upside down view of money. It feels like I'm in a whole new world related to money, is really seeing a few key things. As we're talking about in this, it's realizing that security and freedom and all the feelings that we associate with money are actually innate, that they have nothing to do with anything out there, that there isn't anything out there that can ever give us a feeling of anything. And so that was a huge piece. Realizing that I was the source of money, and really, like the book I mentioned yesterday, Money by Arnold Patent, sort of started to help me see that, and then just kind of exploring that on my own really brought that home. So that was a big piece. And also just realizing that I have an infinite number of ideas related to anything, including making money, that our creative talents span everything in life. They're not just relegated to certain things just because that's how we've always been. Katie, I think I worry that if I'm not in the mood, I might not make any money, whereas a salary looks like it still comes in whatever mood I'm in. Yeah, I like that, Katie. I get it. I totally get it. What's so funny about that, though, this is why I'm laughing, is I used to feel that way too. I totally used to feel that way. And now I've been proven so wrong. That's why I'm laughing. I'm laughing at myself because I used to feel that way. And what I've noticed, and this is what I was starting to allude to in a couple of the other talks, is that it hasn't really mattered what mood I've been in. I've still been able to make plenty of money, even when I've been stressed out, even when I've been sick like this, I've still been able to generate an income. There hasn't been any correlation between the two at all. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm trying to dispel as well, is that we have to be in a certain frame of mind, that we have to have a certain mindset, in order to make money. We have to be looking at it a certain way, and we have to be, totally confident, and, this and that and the other thing. It's all baloney. It has nothing to do with our creative abilities. They're still at work 24/7 like a well-oiled machine. So I don't know if that helps, Katie. Doug, seems like most people have the deep-seated belief that money creates our self-worth and security. I agree. I think that most people do think that way. And I'm trying to undo that in my small way. Honestly, if I could do just one thing in my life, honestly, it would be this, like to get rid of that, because I really see so many people spending, and I'm using that word intentionally, spending their precious life doing something they hate, or something that's just, okay, how's the job? Okay, it's fine. Well, life is meant to be more than fine. It's meant to be more than okay. It's meant to be jubilant. It's meant to be exciting. It's meant to be easy. It's meant to be, loving and joyful and like off the charts fantastic. And I don't want to see people spending their life in these little, oh, it's okay kinds of things, because they're believing that their security comes from doing that thing. So I don't know if that helps on that one, Doug. And self-worth, definitely, I can totally see how people equate that with money. Again, it looks really weird to me now, but it certainly looked true to me before. I think I've talked about the fact that, you know, I would compare myself to my friends. Many of my friends, my friends from college, have done extraordinarily well financially. And I used to compare myself to them and think, you know, they're so much smarter than I am at this. You know, they're so much more accomplished. You know, what's wrong with me that I can't do this? And I would just berate myself all the time over it and feel like I just wasn't worth very much. And now that just looks completely ridiculous, because my self-worth has nothing to do with a piece of paper. It's just silly. Mimi, how long would it take to start making money a different way? I guess it depends on how much action I take on inspiration. Exactly. You know, if you hang on one second. Hey, I'll be right back. If you want to make money, you can make money today. You can take action today. You can figure out something that creates a massive amount of value for a lot of people and start making money immediately. So there's no boundaries around any of this. I used to feel like, oh, good, Doug, I'm glad to hear that. I used to feel like, you know, like, for instance, when I first started charging people for coaching, I was told by some big names, you know, oh, well, don't expect to make, you know, a good living until at least a couple years into your coaching business. And I was like, really? You know, that doesn't seem right. Well, I started making good money, you know, within the first couple of months. And so I don't see any limitation around anything. You know, I think that, you know, if we have a set of expectations about something, which I'm also going to talk about in another Facebook Live, you know, that can sort of set us up for some troubles. But, you know, there's no way that I can ever know what's going to happen. All I can do, as you say, Mimi, is follow my inspiration and take some action and see what happens. The only thing I know for sure is that if I create something of value that people want, they will pay for it. It's pretty simple equation. And it helps if it's something that I really like and enjoy, because then I want to do more of it. And that in turn can bring more money. It's pretty simple. So yeah, Ellie says today, really. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, you could go out today and make whatever, you know, if you said, today I need to make $100 because I need $100 to pay this bill that's due tomorrow, you could totally do it. There's nothing preventing you. You could probably make $500,000. Excuse me. There's no limit on that, and there's no time factor involved. You know, I think that, again, we have all of these notions about how long something is supposed to take, either on the side of longer or shorter. And I just don't see the point of even looking at that. That seems kind of irrelevant to this whole thing. Whether something happens quickly or not isn't really in my control, but there are certain things that I know we can do. If we want to make a quick result, we certainly have a good chance of being able to do that. We have the creative resources available to us to do it. Oh yeah, 500,000. Hey, you know, who am I to say? You could go buy a lottery ticket and have that happen. Certainly, you know, we all know people who have become rich overnight. So, you know, it can happen. It certainly can. We also know people who've lost everything overnight. That can certainly happen too. You know, there's just no, I think all we can really understand about this whole money thing is that the things that we associate with money, the feelings we associate with money, tend to be things that look very dire and important to us, like our survival, our security, our freedom, our well-being, and all these things that have nothing whatsoever to do with money. And when we start to kind of look away from all of that tangled up mess, and we start to look towards what's really going on, which is that we don't have to worry about any of that stuff, that's already here, it's amazing what gets freed up. It's like turning on some kind of a creative faucet that allows all kinds of ideas to occur to us that maybe never have before, and then we can act on them. So what other questions can I answer for you? I'd love to know what else you guys are seeing. Mimi says, there's no guarantees, just enjoy life and be happy. There's no guarantee about anything, you know? And luckily, we don't have to work at being happy because that's our natural state as well. We don't have to do things in order to make ourselves happy because happiness is a given. You know, that's another thing that I love about this discovery, is that all of the things that I used to associate with having a lot of money, like I'll be happy if I have X amount of money in the bank, or I'll be happy when I'm doing something that I want to do instead of being in this stupid job. You know, all of those things started to just disintegrate and started to look really not real to me anymore. I realized that I had all the happiness I could ever want right now, even if I was in a job I didn't like. So what? I was still happy. It didn't have anything to do with anything. And so people spend a lot of their time working and doing things related to money to try to create these feelings that they want. And they don't realize that the feelings they want are already here. So they don't have to try to do things, especially related to money, to try to generate those feelings in themselves. Katie, not been able to do my usual work and earn my usual money, and have never felt happier. Exactly, right? I can remember a certain time in my life where, by all standards, I was poor. I was living at the poverty line, and I have to say it was one of the happiest times I can remember. I was living life on my own terms, and it was a relatively short period of time back then, but you know, that looking back, I can see, you know, prior to that, I had all the money I could ever want, more than I needed, and I felt miserable. And so that was a very good example of seeing this for myself, that money has nothing to do with my state, my emotional state. Let's see, Elliot, yes, the heaviness is really heavy. When we can totally let go of that, it's a whole different world. As you may remember, I've got this offer to propose how I would go about coaching 25 people in a business. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it in a way that's light and fun rather than heavy, stressful load. I'm not sure how yet. You know, you already know how to do that, Ellie. And it's because that sense of lightness and that sense of fun and that sense of creativity and all of that is all of our natural state. So all we need to do is just kind of keep looking towards that. You know, a lot of people in this whole money conversation keep focusing on what to do with negative thinking or what to do with heavy thinking and what to do with all that stuff. And I'm saying, forget about it. It doesn't matter if you feel heavy or if you feel light or anything. The lightness is innate. That's what you can draw from no matter what things look like to you at any given time. What you produce can still come from that creative spirit that is joyful and light. Everything we produce comes from that. Everything. So I don't know if that's helpful, Ellie, but let me know. Oh, you lost your purse and you were still happy, Mimi. Oh my goodness. Oh, I hate when I lose things like that. You found it again. You didn't really worry. You know, I had an experience here in Paris a few weeks ago where I was at a big department store here called BHB, and I was about to I was in the cafeteria area of the store. There's a nice place to eat in there. And I thought my purse felt a little bit light. And I opened it up, and sure enough, my wallet wasn't in it. And I had one of those moments of, oh my God, where did I leave it? You know, because I was like, I had to have left it somewhere in the store. So I immediately remembered where I was when I last purchased something in the store. It was a few flights down, so I literally was like running down the escalator. And the whole time, it was so funny because on the surface, I was really freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I've got, you know, really important stuff in my wallet. And I had just gotten cash too. So there was cash in there as well. I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't remember the French word for wallet, to save my life. So I didn't even know how to ask for it, you know. So I got to the counter where I was. And even though I was feeling all of that on the surface, inside, way down, I was like, it's okay, you know, I'll just deal with it. It's okay. So it's kind of like we can have these two, kind of like this is what I was describing to Ellie just a moment ago. We can have these two experiences going on simultaneously and still be able to draw from that sense of security. So when I got to the desk where I had left my wallet, I said, I left mine, then I described what it was because I couldn't remember the French word for wallet. And I said, I was describing the color of it, and I said, it has argent, money in it, you know. And they're like, oh, and they got it for me. And nobody had stolen anything from it, thankfully. Let's see. Too much to type, you'll share later, Mimi. Yeah, exactly. So, so I think I'll just pause here for a second because I would love to know if this is starting to seem a little bit more real to you, that things like financial freedom and financial security are simply a set of thoughts that a lot of us have listened to for a very long time, but they have no truth in them whatsoever. And what can happen when we see that, even a tiny bit, is that we stop trying to do things in order to get that. And then all of this wave of creative, you know, just everything can come to the surface and help us create whatever it is that we want. You know, it's the best chance we have of changing our finances and all of that. If we can just recognize that we already have all of this already, and we don't have to do anything in order to get it. So is that ringing true at all with you? You can just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, or, you know, type a comment and let me know. I'm going to get a sip of water here. Doug says, yes, that's good. Mimi, oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mimi. That's very nice. Thank you. I think the piece of this that used to kind of get me upset, thanks for the emoticons, that's fun. I think the piece of this that used to upset me a little bit was that I would look back and think about all the time that I wasted, you know, chasing after these things like financial freedom and financial security. And I would think about the time that I spent, you know, in that office, for example. Oh, good, Kathy. I'm hoping that's a good thing. Yes. I would think about the time that I spent in that office job that was just so not right for me at all. It was just ridiculous. And I think, you know, what could I have been doing with that time? And I did feel a sense of regret about that because I thought, wow, I wish I had discovered this sooner. But then at the same time, I realized that when I was in that job, that what I was doing wasn't just the job. I was interacting with people. We were sharing one another's lives with one another. We were, you know, exploring things in a creative way. And that it really, in the end, was not what I would call a bad experience. It was something that helped me to see something new. And so I no longer have any regrets about that. I feel like a lot of the things that we experience bring us to the point where we are right now. And it's allowed me to help other people to try to see through this as well. So if you're kind of feeling like that, like, gosh, you know, am I just wasting my time in this job, or, you know, should I be doing something else? Try not to be too hard on yourself, and try not to berate yourself if you're feeling like, you know, yeah, I am kind of chasing financial security by doing this job or what have you, you know, it's okay. As long as you can just start to kind of see through the facade a little bit and start acting more from this space of inspiration. That's all we're trying to do here. So I hope that's helpful. And you're right, Mimi, the past doesn't exist. It's all thought anyway, just now. So does anybody have any questions or anything that you'd like me to answer before we sign off and before I lose my voice? Hopefully tomorrow I'll have a little bit more energy in my voice. Well, if you have not listened to those 2 chapters in the audiobook about financial freedom and financial security, I would encourage you to do that. Those, to me, are probably 2 of the biggest pieces of information in that book that I really feel can help people. I've had some people in the program tell me that those were instrumental in their ability to change what they were doing to make a living and to really see money in a completely different way that was very freeing to them and much more creative. So I hope that that you have a chance to listen. Okay, well, I guess we will wrap this up, and I will be back on here tomorrow at the same time. Please feel free to post any additional comments here on the video if you are watching the replay. And I would love to hear more about how you're doing with the challenge and what is shifting and changing for you, if anything. If nothing is changing, let me know that too, and we'll see what we can do to facilitate that, because that's what we're here for, is to help you change a few things and see a few new things and make some money as a side benefit. That would be really cool. Okay, well, thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it, and I will sign off for now, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will be back on Monday, and I'll be in the group posting as always too. All right? Thanks so much, you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.